So in today's weather video, we're going to be talking about the continued threat across the tropics and how we are having a bunch of systems potentially forming over here over the next week. And also we're going to be talking continuously about the severe weather system over in the northern plains for the next couple of days. We have an enhanced risk for severe weather today, mainly for North Dakota, really. But obviously, this could expand a little bit depending on the timing when you're watching this video. We also do have a larger slight risk that does go into central Montana, up to central South Dakota, and western bits of Minnesota. So we don't want to just exclude that because we do want to make sure we include that as well. Biggest risk is going to actually be the wind and hail risk, as we do have a 30% hatch risk for the areas of mostly North Dakota, but the 50% does go into our existing slight risk. That is eastern half of Montana, northern half of South Dakota, and the western bit of Minnesota. The hail threat is a little bit smaller, however, it is still up to a 30% chance, mainly for areas around Mint and west of Bismarck, which really so for western North Dakota, that's where we'll be seeing our 30% risk. The hatch risk actually does overlap the slight risk for hail, so that can happen too, and it's still in the 15% hail risk will cover the slight risk areas. So for the tornado risk, we do have a very big area of a 5% tornado risk, again mainly for areas in North Dakota, Mint, and Bismarck, but also for the 2%, a little bit of eastern Montana, even to Fargo, North Dakota, and to a little bit of western Minnesota. We could still be seeing that possible. Into tomorrow, there is going to be a slight risk possible for severe weather. I do believe they updated this to be a slight risk instead of an enhanced risk, so hopefully that is going to stay true and not upgrade to an enhanced risk, but I wouldn't be surprised if, they did upgrade it back to an enhanced risk, because that is definitely going to be very possible. Tomorrow is our biggest risk is going to be the wind risk, as we do have a quite big risk that will impact a couple million of people, possible for a lot of Minnesota, a little bit of Wisconsin, and the Dakotas, so we do need to be weather aware of that. No risk is still quite a big risk, however, the slight risk is just, less big than the 5% chance that does surround this. So mainly, Dakotas, eastern Dakotas, and western Minnesota, we could be seeing some of that possible. And then on day 2 for the tornado risk, it's actually quite a big risk that will be impacting, I do believe, around just a couple million people. Minneapolis, Fargo, I do think this will extend down the Sioux Falls. It's already going to be there. Duluth and a little bit of Canada will be in that as well. So a 2% risk does not mean it's a 0% risk. We still could have a tornado there, a tornado there. It still could happen no matter what. And then day 3, we do also have a slight risk in effect for central Wisconsin down to northeastern Iowa. But obviously, this is still a little outdated, so we are still going to probably have to wait, a day or two for that to be adjusted to be a little bit more accurate. As you can see, around 3 to 4 o'clock, we are going to have those storms kind of start to come in right on the Canada and U.S. borders. As we do continue to move around 5 and 6 o'clock, we're going to have some storm activity ramp up in eastern Montana here, and obviously any, hail and wind producers are going to be possible with this. As we kind of move into, late evening into overnight, that's when we're going to see our severe stuff move in through North Dakota, which is going to be really the whole state that's under that, enhanced risk possible. But we do need to keep an eye on Canada as well, because some of them are going to be also under that risk. And then as we kind of move into overnight into morning hours, you can see that really we have our straight line winds starting to form there. So damaging winds are definitely going to be a big problem with this. Embedded tornadoes are going to be very possible with this as well, and also large hail as well. Now, I am going to go over the next 3 days on Pivotal Weather here. So as we kind of move through, North Dakota, it's showing that the line might be, less lethal in terms of severe weather, but I don't actually believe that at all. Then as we kind of move through into, Friday evening, Friday overnight, we'll have another line begin over here in northern Minnesota and maybe another line down here in South Dakota that'll, be less severe but still capable of producing something. And then as we kind of go through here, we can see that a little bit of Wisconsin over here, could be seeing some severe weather as well. As for flooding and excessive rainfall, we actually don't have a slight risk in effect for today. However, some areas over here in the southeast still could see some rainfall. Earlier this morning, we were having some problems in Iowa about flash flooding happening near Des Moines. So that's probably why we do have that 5% risk in effect for kind of near the Quad Cities, mid-Mississippi Valley. And then up here into the Dakotas and a little bit of Canada, too. Isolated flash flooding with those severe weather storms could be possible. And then for day 2, we're still going to have that 5% risk happening over here in the southeast still, where, we've been seeing some flash flooding happening a little bit here and there. And then up here, still where our severe weather threat is, we could still be seeing some excessive rainfall. And then day 3, hopefully the southeast can somehow take a break already. I don't know if that's actually be true or not. It's still day 3, so that could always change. But hopefully we can stop seeing rain over here because we've been having a lot of flooding happening. And then over here, kind of into the Central Plains, into, the Great Lakes, some of that severe weather flash flooding will continue. And also down here into Arizona and New Mexico, we can start seeing some rain. 4 to 8 hours of how much rainfall we could be seeing. Still, some places over here in Iowa could, still see, some areas up to 4 inches possible. I know it says 6, but this also hasn't been updated for at least a couple of hours. So by the time that I'm making this video, it's probably going to be a little bit less than that. But I'm going to be talking about additional rainfall and not rainfall that has happened within the last hours or so. But even so, some places over here in North Dakota and Minnesota, large swaths of 1 to 2 inches are going to be very possible. Even over here into Canada, so like Saskatchewan and Manitoba, some areas could still see, up to 6 inches possible, I will believe. And then down here in the southeast, some areas over here in Florida could see some swaths up to 1 to 2 to even 3 inches possible. Some areas might see nothing. Some areas could see lots of rain happening. So wherever you live, it is going to be a little uncertain, but you do need to be aware of possible flooding happening. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the tropics. We have been having lots of activity going on within the past week. We are still having tropical storm Dexter moving through the Atlantic. Not expected to hit anything, and also probably going to be expected to weaken right as it heads right towards Europe. So that is going to be good. However, we have had some areas of developing over here. We are having a pressure system move through the Atlantic. Hopefully this doesn't head towards the northeast. However, I don't want to misinformation about mislead anybody. But we also are having another system that with a less chance, but that's going to be moving northeast here. So hopefully that avoids the northeast region. I do believe it should, but some rip currents are going to be possible off the east coast of the U.S. and Canada. Here too, over off the coast of Mexico, we do have another tropical storm that is going to be moving to the west a little bit. It is going to bring large waves probably to, Baja California, even some areas off of the Mexican coast could see some. At some points, it could turn into a hurricane, but it's probably going to weaken back and eventually just die off as it won't receive enough energy for it to form and grow. Now, over here towards Hawaii, though, we are having quite the hurricane as, it is a tropical storm. However, it's probably going to expect it to grow into a hurricane and not expected to weaken anytime soon. So we are going to have to watch out for this, and some waves are going to be possible to hit Hawaii at any point. So, high surf advisories could be issued, rip current statements or beach hazardous statements could potentially be issued for the northern Hawaii coast or for all of Hawaii. In fact, it's very possible that we could see if this is going to be moving closer those waves could become more bigger and more severe. So watch out for rip currents that will be happening possible. Temperatures for the next 6 to 10 days. A lot of us in the United States here are going to be above average for temperatures for the next 6 to 10 days. A little bit of the Pacific Northwest might be a little bit cooler than average, or even a little bit down here near LA and San Diego. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be true down here, but the Pacific Northwest, I could be seeing, lower than average temperatures. But especially over here in the Northeast is where we're going to be seeing our biggest temperature increases. 8 to 14 days, it is relatively going to stay the same. However, the Pacific Northwest may see that cooler than average temperatures start to go away. And Southern California, those below than average temperatures begin to grow again. Precipitation, a lot of us in the United States are going to be above average for precipitation. Not a lot above average, but a slight bit above average. Over here in the West Coast, where we've been having those wildfires especially, we've definitely been seeing a lot of below than average precipitation happening. And this is not good, because if we want those wildfires to stop, we would need a lot more precipitation to happen. So it's not good that we're having this below than average precipitation, because that's how we're seeing a lot of those wildfires start to happen. And then within the next 8 to 14 days, it is going to be less certain of what we could be seeing over here. Most likely below than average precipitation, I would say, especially down here in the southern bit of the U.S., though, could be seeing above than average temperatures. And also up here in the northern plains and Midwest. And then the other half of the country is probably just going to be near normal average for precipitation. Finally, for drought, we have been having increased areas over here in the West Coast with that drought, especially in Wyoming and Colorado, and also a little bit of Montana and Idaho, where we've been seeing a lot of those wildfires happen, and that's not good for, a lot of the farmers, especially like cattle farming. It's a big thing out here in the West, so planting, watering those grasses, corn, all the farm stuff. You need to be watering this, because rain is going to be very scarce over here in the West for at least for a little bit still to come. Even over here in the Central Plains, in South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, some drought is happening. And starting over here on the East Coast, some metro areas have begun to start developing a lot of droughts. So it is starting to grow a little bit over here on the East Coast. So, those farmers out there in the East Coast need to beware of their farms. Alright, and that's going to be it for today's weather video. So if you guys like to see another weather update video, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the Huntweather channel to receive updates. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.